Monsieur le Président, je tiens à contribuer au débat sur la motion de blâme contre ce gouvernement, même si ce soir, on m'accorde que 7 minutes. L'opposition est là, on est là pour écouter la population et nous sommes en fait les porte-parole du peuple mauricien. Aujourd'hui, la population n'a plus confiance en ce gouvernement. Et à travers la motion de blâme déposée par le chef de l'opposition, on exprime les doléances du peuple. Monsieur le Président, ce gouvernement nous a promis un avenir meilleur, un miracle économique, mais on constate qu'on vit un cauchemar. On a devant nous un gouvernement sans direction et les différentes mesures annoncées dans les précédents budgets n'ont pas résolu les grands soucis de notre économie. Beaucoup d'entreprises ont malheureusement cessé d'opérer. Le taux de chômage a grimpé. La roupie a perdu sa valeur à une vitesse inouïe. Et la vie à Maurice est devenue très chère. Les gens, et surtout ceux au bas de l'échelle, n'arrivent plus à joindre les deux bouts. Il y a un désespoir au sein de la population. J'avais dit lors de mon discours du budget 2020 que les pauvres deviennent plus pauvres et ça devient beaucoup plus difficile à vivre à Maurice. Certains dorment le ventre vide et les récentes protestations qu'on a eues dans différentes régions de l'île est un signe que les gens ont faim. Ils souffrent de ce qui se passe à Maurice. Il faut que ce gouvernement vienne avec de meilleurs sentiments pour le peuple mauricien et avec de vraies mesures pour relancer l'économie. Monsieur le Président, le gouvernement n'arrive plus à stabiliser la roupie vis-à-vis des devises étrangères. Le dollar américain coûte aujourd'hui 18% plus cher qu'en novembre 2019. L'euro coûte 13% plus cher qu'en novembre 2019. Monsieur le Président, le peuple mauricien est remonté et ils sont en colère et on blâme ce gouvernement quand ils ont augmenté le prix du gaz par 33%, soit une augmentation de 60 roupies. Le prix de l'essence par 33% depuis décembre 2021. Le prix du transport a augmenté entre une fourchette de 25% à 42%. Et aujourd'hui, j'ai une pensée spéciale pour les self-employed qui doivent débourser de l'argent du transport chaque jour pour aller travailler. J'ai en tête les maçons, charpentiers, peintres, électriciens, plombiers, car certains travaillent le matin pour pouvoir manger le soir. Grand matin travaillent pour manger à soir. Le prix des médicaments a augmenté énormément. Je vais venir qu'avec 2 exemples. Je vous donne l'exemple pour les diabétiques, des médicaments pour les diabétiques. Forxiga, 10 mg se vend à 1807 roupies, soit une augmentation sur le prix de l'année dernière. Novomix et Novorapid se vendent à 2077 roupies, soit 100% d'augmentation sur le prix de l'année dernière. Aujourd'hui, Monsieur le Président, le budget d'un pensionnaire pour les médicaments tourne autour de 6 à 7 000 roupies mensuellement. Certains Mauriciens ne savent plus comment payer le loyer et l'électricité. Et puis encore, on entend que le prix du courant va aussi augmenter. Il ne faut pas tout mettre sur le compte du Covid-19 et le conflit de la Russie et de l'Ukraine. Monsieur le Président, les Mauriciens ne sont pas dupes. Mais on ne va pas accepter que certains légumes sont chers. Aujourd'hui, j'ai payé 3 chayotes. Chayotes à 129 roupies. Pour les gens qui ne savent pas c'est quoi chayotte, c'est son chouchou. 3 chouchous pour 129 roupies. 129 roupies pour une aubergine.
Are you going to table it?
I can table it. I can table it. Yes. Yes. 129 roupies pour une aubergine. Ah. I can table it also. 143 roupies pour 4 pommes d'amour. 125 roupies pour une courgette. 128 roupies pour 4 carottes. 240 roupies pour 340 grammes de piment curry. Aujourd'hui, ça m'a coûté dans les 1000 roupies pour ces quelques légumes. Monsieur le Président, donne-moi. Monsieur le Président, je pose la question aux membres du gouvernement à travers vous. Est-ce que ces légumes sont cultivés en Ukraine ou à Maurice? Monsieur le Président, ce gouvernement nous dit de serrer la ceinture. OK? Mais il fait que le contraire. Ceinture dans la main. Il dévalise les fonds publics. Et je vais citer quelques exemples. Les voyages des 13 ministres à Dubaï, l'achat des ventilateuses, le gaspillage sur Heritage City. Monsieur le Président, si le gouvernement ne ressaisisse pas, on sera dans la même situation de crise économique que le Sri Lanka et le Liban, où il y a des coupures de courant et de graves pénuries de nourriture et de carburant et de produits pharmaceutiques. Il faut surtout stabiliser la roupie, Monsieur le Président. Il faut baisser la taxe sur l'essence. Il faut conscientiser les gens à consommer plus les produits locaux. Et il faut aider les pauvres à travers les vouchers.
Try to conclude.
Yes, I'm finishing. Monsieur le Président, au moment du vote de cette motion, je demande aux membres de la majorité de bien vouloir réfléchir sur les points suivants. Depuis qu'ils sont au gouvernement, Monsieur le Président, est-ce que l'économie de Maurice va dans la bonne direction? Est-ce qu'il y a un avenir pour les jeunes à Maurice? Est-ce que les Mauriciens ont appauvri? Est-ce que la corruption a augmenté? Monsieur le Président, en tout cas, je les laisse avec leur conscience. Au moment voulu, le peuple jugera. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Remove the exhibits from the chamber. Remove your exhibits from the chamber.
Mr. Speaker, sir, monsieur avec ce prix-là, super bon, c'est travail bien. Looking at the wording, Mr. Speaker, sir, looking at the wording of this motion of no confidence, I'm a bit surprised. The libelling of this motion is, this Assembly has no confidence in government. In this motion, the leader of the opposition doesn't say that he does not have confidence in this government. The wording of this motion is rather broad, Mr. Speaker. Do I understand that the leader of the opposition does not believe in government, or is it a subliminal warning? If he has no confidence in government, does that mean he wants a system of anarchy? Anarchy is a state of disorder due to absence of authority. Is that why he did not condemn the riot that took place in April 22nd of this year? A riot that was organized by low rows of rioters carrying mattresses and old tires and setting fire at a different junction across different localities. Incidents that has caused many casualties among the public, policemen, and members of the fire services, not to mention the damage to government property, including the brand new metro station at Berkeley, with infrastructural damage of $13 million just at Berkeley Metro Station. Mr. Speaker, sir, this riot reminds me of the situations that prevailed in 1999 and 1968. In 1999,
Can you give me 1 minute, please? Honorable, I've told you to remove the exhibit, and 3 times I've told you. And do it instantly. If not, you have to withdraw from the chamber. Then if everybody will bring cows and goats and everything, the price is going on, everything the price is going on. Please continue.
in 1999, after the death of Kaya, a riot is spread to condos, Goodlands, and many other localities, causing damage to property and loss of innocent lives. Similarly, the riot in 1968, which I personally witnessed. At that time, I was 16 years old, and I was residing in Penveat. I experienced at first hand how innocent people lost their property, have their house burned down, and some eventually lost their lives. This happened in both Rosebois and Penveat, Mr. Speaker, sir. It was mainly the innocent people from this region who lost their lives. Do I understand that this is what the leader of the opposition wants? As far as I remember, he has not yet publicly condemned this riot. Do I take it that the leader of the opposition condoned what happened 3 weeks ago? Nowadays, we have people who are posting on the social media the address of policemen who arrested somebody. What is the message behind publicly putting this post? Is it to incite people to go and attack the policeman and his family at his residence? But I see the leader of the opposition did not have anything to say about this particular policeman. You would agree, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is the first time we have reached such a low. This is from educated individuals who are very much aware of the possible consequence of their action. Mr. Speaker, sir, are we going to relive the Azo Adelaide episode? From what has been happening 3 weeks ago, it's obvious that the extra-parliamentary opposition want to have a state of anarchy and insurrection. But what has surprised me is a reaction, or rather, the non-reaction of the leader of the opposition. Do I get the impression that the leader of the opposition wants such an anarchic situation to develop in Mauritius? Mr. Speaker, sir, we are living in a democratic society. If the opposition does not agree with the government, at the next election, they can vote to remove the government. But you do not try to remove the government by fueling riot and violence. In a democratic society, we change the government through the ballot box, but not by the ballot. Mauritius has always had the reputation of being a peaceful and democratic society. Let's keep it like this. Let's not change the government by violent means. Once we go down this lane, we will destroy our beautiful island where c'est un plaisir de vivre. Mr. Speaker, sir, since the beginning of 2020, we have been severely impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. And in the last 3 months, the war in Ukraine, which has worsened the situation. In 2019, we had about 1.4 million tourists, whereas last year, we had only 183,000 tourists who visited Mauritius. We know how the situation has severely impacted on the financial situation of this country. We all know how the price of petrol has gone up in the world, on the world market. The price of crude oil recently reached a peak of US $140, though now it has settled down to around, I think, 120 US dollar. As we know, when the price of petrol goes up, it has a cascading effect on the price of transport and eventually on all the commodities that we import. Neither the COVID-19 nor the Ukraine war was the doing of this government. We all know it, except the opposition party. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit Mauritius, right from the beginning, the government under the chairmanship of the Prime Minister insisted that we are going to do everything to save the life of our citizens, even though that's going to cost us a lot financially. In fact, well before the COVID-19 pandemic, the government has been trying to improve the financial situation of the population, especially people on the lower rung of the ladder. Have we forgotten that this government introduced the minimum wage starting from, I think, 8,000 rupees and is now 11,000 rupees? And the old age pension, which has increased from 3,600 to 9,000 rupees now. This was well before the COVID-19 pandemic, Mr. Speaker. Sir. We all remember how difficult it was during the period of confinement. In spite of the situation, government provided food pack to vulnerable groups, wage assistance scheme to workers in different industries, and the self-employed assistance scheme to people working in the informal sector. Government injected around 500 million in national budget twice in order to subsidize the price of basic commodities and essential items due to the soaring price at the level of the international market. Mr. Speaker, sir, members of the opposition do not realize, or do not want to realize, that we are among the few countries in the world to come up with such exceptional economic measures to boost up our economy during these 2 years of pandemic, which has caused havoc across the world. Mr. Speaker, sir, if you allow me to take 1 or 2 points about the point raised by the leader of the opposition. Firstly, about the postponement of the municipal election. As you are aware, the election was due in by June 2021. But we all know at that particular time, we were still having a large number of COVID cases and even a number of deaths. The number of COVID cases were increasing. Was it possible to have election in this situation? This year also, we have postponed the election to June 2023 at latest. I repeat, this is at latest. If the government feels that we can do the election before that date, I'm sure we will do it. Mr. Speaker, allow me, remember who postponed the general election in 1972. Why was it postponed? Who postponed it? Was there any epidemic at this time? Similarly, the municipal election was due in 2011. Why was it postponed to December 2012? What was the reason? Again, was any COVID at that particular time? Mr. Speaker, sir, some people have short memory, or maybe, let's say, selective amnesia. Now coming to COVID cases, the leader of the opposition said that we have to stop wearing masks and decrease the precautionary measures that we have been taking against COVID. We know, Mr. Speaker, that we have different strains across the world. We know what happened to Shanghai recently and how it was Shanghai was completely locked down. If we do have a relapse of COVID in Mauritius, he will be the first person to blame the government. He's trying to tell us to decrease the precautionary measures we are taking. But in case there is a relapse, a resurgence, he'll be the first person to blame the government. According to the leader of the opposition, whatever the government do regarding COVID is wrong. It was the same for COVID vaccination. I think somebody else mentioned it earlier. Firstly, it was said the vaccine was dangerous. There was a campaign to discourage people from doing the vaccine. The second reason is that some of the vaccine was not approved by WHO. Thirdly, they asked the population not to sign the consent form. Fourthly, the vaccine doesn't protect you against different variants. All sorts of excuses were used to discourage the population from taking the necessary precaution, Mr. Speaker. Sir. Another point which was raised by the leader of the opposition, in 2012, when he was a Minister of Finance, he was congratulated by Moody's and the World Bank, I think. Now, he's coming to say, if he was in government, nous aurions augmenté la pension de vieillesse et introduit les salaires minimum. When he was doing so well in 2012, why did he not increase the old age pension? The pension at that time was 3,600, and it is this government that increasing to 9,000 rupees. Similarly, for the minimum wage, some workers at that time were earning, Mr. Speaker, 1,500 rupees per month. And what did he do for them? He was congratulated, I'm happy for him, by Moody's. But what did he do for the old age people at that particular time? What did he do about minimum wage at that particular time? But today, when you have increased the minimum wage initially to 8,000 and now to 11,000, now he's complaining that it is not enough. I think he should have done it when the country was doing so well, but he did not do it. Mr. Speaker, sir, I believe that the present opposition party is running out of steam. They do not realize in what mess they are. An alliance that cannot even decide who is going to lead the opposition alliance in the next general election is trying to bring emotion of no confidence against this government. On the other hand, the population knows that since 2014, when we came in power, we have been working to improve the lots of our population. We have had two major and unprecedented problems which the world has not witnessed in the last 75 years, Mr. Speaker. That is the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine. But despite all the difficulties the government has done and is still trying to do its utmost to improve the life of our citizens. And we are not out of the woods yet, Mr. Speaker, sir. God knows what's going to happen in Ukraine. If that situation gets worse, and it looks like it, if we go into a third world war, it's not far-fetched. We just have to realize how catastrophic that's going to be, not just for Mauritius, for the whole world. Before concluding, sir, I would like to quote a survey that was carried out by Le Mauritius and Istra Council and was published 2 days ago. The first question, to which political party do you feel closest to? The Mouvement Socialiste Mauritian recorded 18%. That is, 18% of the sample feel closest to MSM. And as for PMSD, only 1%. The next question, who would you vote as the next PM? Pravin Jagnat, 21%. Xavier Duval, 2%. Third question, which party alliance would you be willing to vote if there's a general election tomorrow? Alliance de l'Espoir, MMM, PMSD, Roshibade, Nando Buddha, 1%. That is only 6 people out of 600 of a sample. MMM and plus Alan Ganou and Steve Obigadu, 11%. From this result, it is already clear the population has, without the slightest doubt, already voted a motion of no confidence against the opposition, Mr. Speaker. Sir. If that's not a motion of no confidence against the opposition, I wonder what it is. Mr. Speaker, sir, following the result of this survey and the clerk magistral that he has received, I think to maintain his credibility, I think the most decent thing that the leader of the opposition should do is to withdraw this motion of no confidence without further ado. Merci, Monsieur le Speaker.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Monsieur le Président, j'ai 15 minutes pour mon plaidoyer à l'occasion de cette motion de blâme qui a été présentée par le leader de l'opposition. Au sein du Parti travailliste, nous soutenons la motion de blâme contre le gouvernement. Cette motion de blâme, Monsieur le Président, est présentée dans un contexte particulier. Il est un fait
qu'en 2022, le peuple souffre énormément. C'est un fait que la population s'appauvrit de jour en jour, que le doute est dans le pays et que le gouvernement n'a plus la confiance de la population. Cette motion de blâme, il faut bien le dire, n'est pas présentée contre un ministre, n'est pas présentée contre le ministre de la Santé, contre le ministre du Commerce, contre le ministre des Finances, ou même contre le Premier ministre. Cette motion de blâme est présentée contre l'ensemble du gouvernement, parce que l'ensemble du gouvernement mène ce pays vers la déroute. J'ai écouté 12 orateurs qui m'ont précédé. Des ministres, le ministre des Finances, le ministre du Commerce. J'ai écouté le ministre de l'Agriculture disant à l'honorable Bagouane qu'il est coupé de la réalité. Quand j'ai écouté le ministre de l'Agriculture, l'Attorney General, alors que le pays, les gens dans ce pays mangent un repas par jour, alors que certaines familles n'arrivent pas à finir leur fin de mois, alors que tous les prix des alimentations dans le supermarché, l'honorable Sikian vient d'en faire la preuve, augmentent, alors que les médicaments pour les retraités augmentent criminellement. C'est dommage, alors que la ménagère attend du ministre de l'Agriculture des solutions, des réponses à leurs interrogations. Le ministre de l'Agriculture trouve important le pin sur la veste de l'honorable Béranger. Important pour dire, alors que nous attendons des solutions. C'est cela qu'on appelle couper de la réalité. Et notre devoir en tant que l'opposition, c'est pas simplement de critiquer, mais aussi d'attirer l'attention du gouvernement par ce cri du cœur. C'est pour ça que certains observateurs ont qualifié les désordres de ces dernières semaines des désordres de la faim. Et le coût de la vie dans ce pays, Monsieur le Président. La population comprend très bien qu'il y a une guerre entre la Russie et l'Ukraine. La population comprend très bien que le Covid est passé, nous avons passé par des moments difficiles. Le père de famille comprend très bien que le monde entier, le prix de l'huile augmente, le prix du charbon augmente, les matières premières augmentent. La population comprend, il comprend. Les Mauriciens, les jeunes et les Mauriciens en général lisent, regardent la télé. Mais ce qu'ils ne comprennent pas, messieurs les ministres, monsieur le Président, c'est qu'au même moment qu'on demande à cette population qu'il faut qu'il serre la ceinture pour payer son carburant plus cher, en un mois, pour payer le gaz ménager plus cher, pour payer le métro, pour payer le taxi, pour payer le bus, pour payer les médicaments, alors que le ministre du Transport vient de dire « la population comprendra ». Oui, la population comprendra. Mais la population comprendra quand 13 ministres partent à Dubaï pour le Jalsa de Dubaï, alors que vous demandez à la population de serrer les ceintures. La population va comprendre quand au CUB, pendant 6 ans, nous avons créé 3 subsidiaires qui ont englouti 1,2 milliard de roupies. Et ce matin, le ministre de l'Énergie est venu confirmer que 2 subsidiaires seront en faillite, seront fermés, alors que le gouvernement a investi 1,2 milliard de roupies. Comment la population peut comprendre quand nous savons ce qui est arrivé au stade de Côte d'Or, autour de 5 milliards de roupies, et le Pan Blanc, le Save City Camera, 19 milliards de roupies. La population se pose des questions. J'ai écouté le ministre, le vice-premier ministre Asnou, il disait que la situation est grave. Oui, monsieur le ministre. L'opposition, nous sommes responsables, nous comprenons que la population est grave. Mais est-ce le moment, monsieur le vice-premier ministre, de launch un tender pour la rénovation du bureau de votre ministère? Est-ce le moment? Est-ce le moment, là, actuellement, alors que le pays passe des moments difficiles? La police vient d'acheter 25 berlines neuves pour les PPS ou pour les ministres. Est-ce le moment, monsieur le Président, que la population passe par des moments difficiles? Les milliards de la MIC sont dilapidés sans transparence. Servez de cet argent, la population comprendra. Donc, monsieur le Président, la population est une population intelligente. Mais la population se pose des questions. La population se pose des questions, monsieur le Président, comment, dans notre démocratie, dans ce pays, un député écrit au directeur général de la Mauritius Broadcasting Corporation et une journaliste est suspendue, elle perd son emploi. Est-ce possible en 2022 que la population puisse comprendre, puisqu'une journaliste n'a pas pris la carte de visite de l'honorable Denou, elle est suspendue, elle perd son emploi à la MBC. C'est cela que le peuple, la population se pose des questions.
Please, behave yourself. Don't interrupt the member.
La ménagère, cela fait mal.
Who started? You are mature.
Cela fait mal.
Who started this game? Quiet there.
L'honorable Denou s'excite.
Yes.
What point of order? I'm not going to give way, Mr. Speaker, sir.
It's a point of order. I'm not giving a point of
Honorable
clarification.
member, you should know your standing orders. Don't embarrass. I know you don't know your standing orders. No, he has the right of a point of order. There is no way to give. I give the floor. I give the way, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I refer to point 40 and two other members imputing motive. There has been an inquiry. He has mentioned my name. And the Prime Minister gave a reply, and there has been an inquiry. He can't say that because of me that this person has been, he can't be imputing motives.
Yes.
And he can't put allegation on me.
You have a point of order. Please withdraw
He
that.
has to withdraw.
You have to withdraw that. You can't.
Oui.
You can't be a judge. There's an inquiry going on. You can't be a judge.
L'honorable député a écrit la MBC pour demander de sanctionner la journaliste, oui ou non? Aujourd'hui, il se dédouane.
Please, I'm asking you to withdraw that. You have no speech. Next one. You have no speech. Wait, you have no speech. Withdraw from the chamber. Withdraw from the chamber. Withdraw from the chamber. Honorable Nakchedi, you start your speech.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Let me first thank the Leader of the Opposition that he is back in this House to listen to the debate on his motion. You're going. The mover is going. Okay. The problem. Yet again, Mr. Speaker, it's given me a great satisfaction that he was here up to that time. Nearly half past 10, because normally after his PNQ he disappears from this house, so that doesn't make any difference. A motion of no confidence on this government, Mr. Speaker, sir, at this point of time when we should be working together to face the new normal is shameful. As if the census of the weekend paper was not enough for the leader of opposition to withdraw his motion. So let me bring my contribution, and Mr. Speaker, sir, I will start from the very beginning. In November 2019, we went in an election. There were 3 major blocks. I still consider the MMM as one of the major blocks, despite that in several constituencies, the MMM candidates have not been able to recover their deposit, the tiers caution, comme on dit. There was one in number 9, and all the 3 in number 7, and elsewhere again also. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, with 3 blocks, it was clear that none of them was going to get more than 50% of the vote. We, the Alliance Mauricien, we got 37%. The others, they got what they got. So we all got a minority. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, what makes the difference is that we got the majority of the minority, whereas they got the minority of the minority. And they are doing a very simple mathematics, that is 100% minus the 37% that we got, and they are telling everyone that they have 63% of the population with them. But what you don't tell the population is that there were 22% of the population which didn't cast the vote. So if you remove the 33%, the 22 from the 63, it means that you got only 41%, and that all of you together. Et avec ces 4%, vous êtes comme si la grenouille qui se veut faire aussi grosse que le bœuf. And now they are behind the election municipal. Ça aussi, ils ont gagné battre. And this is what we must understand and explain to the people. And since then, they are using all sorts of tactics to tarnish the image of this country. They came with petitions, which one after the other was thrown away. In one instance, they did get a recount. But then what happened? The country lost money because it was taxpayers' money, and MMM lost a member. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the constituency number 9, the MMM got only 5% of votes more than the Parti Malin, as highlighted by Honorable Colin Develu some time back. During his intervention on the COVID-19 bill on the 13th of May 2020, the then leader of the opposition, Dr. Honorable Boulel, mentioned, I quote, "Do not forget, electoral petitions are before the court to contest the legitimacy of this government," end of quote. What I want you to understand, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that since the 8th of November 2019, the opposition's major concern is to create confusion in the mind of people and have recourse to all sorts of anti-democratic means to contest the legitimacy of this government. As the attempt of electoral petitions did not work, now they are coming with this motion. Mr. Speaker, sir, on 23rd October 2019, the leader of Alliance Mauricien, Honorable Pravin Kumar Jagnat, presented its manifesto with 15 measures. And we just completed our 2 years. We are nearly approaching to the mid-mandate. And here is our bilan. Malgré les contextes difficiles, on a maintenu l'éducation gratuite, on a maintenu la santé gratuite, on a maintenu le transport gratuit. Et en plus de ça, Monsieur le Président, d'après nos manifestes, on a appliqué le rapport du PRB comme promis. Le manuel scolaire gratuit, ça a été fait. La pension des vieillesses à 9 000 roupies, ça a été fait. Cette opposition que nous avons en face de nous avait déclaré qu'il n'avait pas les moyens de payer 5 000 roupies en 2014. Le leader de l'opposition, heureusement qu'il n'est pas là, sinon il aurait dit que c'est lui et l'honorable Boda qui avaient proposé la pension à 5 000 roupies en 2014, quand déjà on voit l'honorable Boda déclarer que le urban terminal, c'est son concept. L'aide pour les soins à l'étranger qui passe de 800 000 roupies à 1 million de roupies, avec le poste du patient bénéficiant d'un billet gratuit, Le plus important, Monsieur le Président, on avait promis la création d'un Youth Environment Council pour que les jeunes puissent s'exprimer sur la question environnementale. In March 2021, the National Youth Environment Council, that is an NYEC, was created. And this council, Mr. Speaker, sir, has a very young and dynamic chairperson, Dr. Zahir Alam. This council is already working towards science-based policy recommendations. And the chairman was cited in the latest flagship IPCC report. The IPCC, that is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which is a United Nations body for assessing the science related to climate change. Already the United Nations is recognizing the contribution of this council, which is a vision of our Prime Minister, Honorable Pravin Kumar Jagannath, to provide opportunities to our young people. Another achievement, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that in the last mandate, this government appointed a lady to the post of Speaker for the first time. A lady as the President of the Republic for the first time. And in this mandate, for the first time, we have a Chief Whip who is a lady and doing her job in an excellent manner. Mr. Speaker, sir, the world is going through a tough time. I won't say that we don't have problem. We have problem with the economy. Yes, we do have. But what would you expect when your major pillars of the economy, like the tourism industry, is not operating at its optimum and didn't work at all for about 18 months? And when it is started to pick up, some people who are close to the opposition, don't worry, I won't call them Chatwa de l'opposition. They organize manifestation in front of the parliament to request tourists not to come to Mauritius. Is that the fault of this caring government? Kotnun Fote. The honorable leader of the opposition mentioned the participant of the riot who was injured this morning when he moved his motion. But not a single word for the policemen who were injured while discharging their duty. Not a word on the damages to our infrastructure, which we, the taxpayers, are going to pay. Why? And why this government is trying to say that the people who participate in the riots are against us. But it was Honorable Shakil Mohammed who was insulted and called to move away when he tried to take a political gain during the riot. Even during this debate, listening to the members on the other side of the house, we get the feeling that they're praying for Mauritius to become like Sri Lanka. That's what that's the wish that they have for the country. And I heard a lot about MIC. The MIC, Mr. Speaker, sir, is here to ensure an orderly and balanced economic development of the country and the stability and soundness of the financial system by assisting corporations or companies incorporated in Mauritius which are financially distressed as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, if you compare this to the stimulus package, Mr. Speaker, sir, you will see the difference. The stimulus package was a means to give away money to those who were close to the then government and without any need of reimbursing that money. The MIC financing is a loan which will have to be reimbursed. Once you get the loan, the MIC will have a representative on the board of these companies and follow how the money is used. The whole world suffered during the pandemic, and we will continue to feel its effect up to we don't know when. The effect was global, but the measures taken by different governments across the world were different. A small island, a small economy like ours, despite all the constraints, we came up with several such measures which are unique, like, for example, the wages assistance scheme, the self-employed assistance scheme, measures to protect employment, or all the characteristics of a caring government. We are not abusing of public funds, Mr. Speaker, sir. And talking of abusing of public funds, Mr. Speaker, sir, that reminds me of a letter sent to the press in April 2000, when one Mr. Eric Christopher, who explained from Switzerland, he sent that letter to explain how public funds were misused by the then government. Mr. Speaker, sir, whether you are in the opposition or on the side of the government, you still have a duty towards your country. And the duty is to tell the truth. We just saw an example by Honorable Sikyan. We understand that the susu and aubergine at Kotomili, the price have grown up. But what's it not explain Even these vegetables are grown here, the fertilizers we import. And that has a cost. The cost for producing these vegetables have grown up. So that they won't go and tell the public. They will tell lies. Unfortunately, the honorable members of the opposition and even those who are outside are not telling the truth to the people. You may recall, when we came with the COVID-19 Act, it was said that the bill infringes upon personal liberty. Today, after 2 years, we see that there is nothing as such. When we came with the IBA Amendment Act, again the opposition left no stone unturned to terrify the population, making them believe that there is no democracy in Mauritius. But that's not all, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mauritians have voted for a caring government with a vision. On this side of the House, we are doing the utmost to face the prevailing situation. We will continue to be by the side of our population and care for them. Mr. Speaker, sir, we shall not forget the unprecedented measures that this government has implemented, like the portable retirement gratuity fund, negative income tax, minimum wages. We provided our people with dignity. We abolished the salary of 1,500 rupees, not only abolished, but also made it illegal. We are valorizing our people. We are not like others, encouraging and using them for our own benefits to walk on the street, to set fires on mattresses by making them believe that it's the government who is behind the increase in prices. And this is a dangerous game that the opposition is playing, Mr. Speaker, sir. Some honorable members in this House even mentioned that the government was using the COVID-19 pandemic to bring laws which were against the workers. Honorable Utim, on the 13th of May 2020, mentioned the following, I quote, « Le gouvernement s'apprête à voter pour une loi anti-travailleur, une loi qui remet en question les droits acquis, une loi qui, au lieu de les protéger contre les licenciements abusifs, les rend plus vulnérables à la merci du patronat. » End of quote. But Mr. Speaker, sir, after he said that in this House, a few months later, on the 29th of August 2020, we saw very well where the patronat was situated. On a vu qui c'est qui avait sponsorisé cette masse de vulgarité. Talking of per diem, Mr. Speaker, sir, let me remind this House that the cost of overseas travel of the leader of PTR when he was the Prime Minister amounted to 206 million rupees. And for one trip to India in 2014, the per diem that was paid to him was 2 million rupees. The sister of the ex-PM was paid 3 million rupees as per diem for the year 2007 to 2008. Ça qui appelle amuser. Amuser et abuser. Monsieur le Président, on voit aujourd'hui une opposition qui a fixé comme objectif de se rassembler malgré les divergences d'opinion qu'on voit chaque jour. Le rassemblement est guidé par la blessure de leur ego lors des dernières élections législatives. Ce qui les rapproche, c'est cette haine contre le Premier ministre qui, avec cette victoire du législatif de 2019, les a fait passer pour des leaders dépassés. Et c'est cela qui les motive, avec cette haine rassembleur, de présenter aujourd'hui cette motion de censure remplie d'antipatriotisme et de malhonnêteté. Une opposition déraillée et engourdie, dirigée par des forces occultes. Et cela me fait les accorder cette citation de Daniel Conflans. Je cite, « Un homme politique malhonnête, c'est comme un cerf-volant. Il est gonflé de vent, il se porte de belles couleurs pour séduire, et lorsqu'il vole, il est en général manipulé par quelqu'un qui tire les ficelles. » Fin de citation. Monsieur le Président, quand à nous de ce côté de la Chambre, nous tendons la ficelle à la population, quand on est guidé par leurs aspirations, on est là pour les servir, pour leur offrir un avenir brillant. On est là par amour pour nos enfants, par amour pour notre pays. On est là qu'on a confiance qu'il y aura un demain meilleur. So before I end, Mr. Speaker, sir, I request that this motion shall not be allowed in this House, and I am sure that my friends on this side are not going to vote for it, as this motion is just an attempt to mislead the population, and the mover has only political motive underhand. On this note, I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
MP Navarre.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous débattons aujourd'hui d'une motion of no confidence. Le leader de l'opposition a donné les raisons d'une telle démarche et il importe que Maurice soit gouverné par un gouvernement responsable ayant à cœur l'intérêt et le bien-être de la population. J'ai écouté avec attention l'orateur qui m'a précédé et également le ministre, l'honorable Asnou. S'ils étaient aussi forts, pourquoi refuser de donner les élections municipales? Vos conseils municipaux sont déjà en péremption. Si des élections générales devaient avoir lieu aujourd'hui, ce gouvernement prendrait un mauvais coup. Dans le contexte de scandales pendant la pandémie sur l'achat de médicaments, de grosses dépenses dans des projets de métro et le gaspillage des fonds publics. Monsieur le Président, le 22 avril, il y a eu des manifestations dans différentes régions du pays. Les familles sont inquiètes face à la montée du prix de carburant et ses effets cascades sur les produits alimentaires. Il y a aujourd'hui une crise du coût de la vie. 2 ans et demi après les élections législatives, au cœur même de son mandat, il est devenu évident que les promesses n'ont pas été tenues. Et ce gouvernement s'enlise dans des projets qui n'ont rien à voir avec la qualité et le niveau de vie de la population. Ce gouvernement est complètement déconnecté de la réalité du peuple. Il est en déphasage complet du quotidien de la famille mauricienne. Les promesses du gouvernement n'ont pas été tenues. La distribution de l'eau 24/7, par exemple, la pension de vieillesse à 13 000 roupies, le public advertisement pour tous les postes, surtout les postes de responsabilité, et j'en passe. Nous faisons face au spectre de l'appauvrissement. La cherté de la vie entraîne une paupérisation de la population, dont la classe moyenne, qui peine à joindre les deux bouts. Le pouvoir d'achat baisse avec la hausse continue des prix. Du coup, les Mauriciens n'achètent que les produits essentiels et les moins chers et sont à l'affût des promotions dans les supermarchés. Des commerçants menacent de ne plus importer. Des entrepreneurs ferment boutique. Des travailleurs perdent leur emploi. Prétexte, le Covid, ou alors ils ne sont pas vaccinés. Des familles peinent à survivre. Elles vivotent grâce aux dons de certaines ONG, à l'instar de Caritas, et des compagnies du secteur privé s'y sont mis de la partie en distribuant des food packs aux plus nécessiteux. Le pays est confronté à plusieurs défis. La flambée des prix, les factures de plus en plus fortes, l'inflation entraînant une forte baisse du niveau de vie, et les consommateurs ressentent la pression. L'inégalité croissante entre les riches et les pauvres, les effets des changements climatiques, l'éducation non inclusive, de nouvelles modalités imposées par le ministère des Finances concernant l'octroi de fauteuils roulants, de lunettes ou d'appareils auditifs aux personnes du troisième âge et les personnes handicapées. Avec un montant de 5 000 roupies, il est impossible de se procurer d'appareils auditifs qui coûtent pas moins de 40 000 roupies. Et en même temps, ils doivent trouver de l'argent pour s'acheter des médicaments qui coûtent des yeux de la tête. Ces défis, Monsieur le Président, exigent un leadership responsable et intègre. Or, ce gouvernement met l'accent sur des projets de prestige et oublie les choses qui sont beaucoup plus importantes pour la population. Il ignore les besoins de la population tels que l'emploi, le pouvoir d'achat, la lutte contre la corruption dans nos institutions, un service qui laisse à désirer dans les hôpitaux et la situation dans le secteur de l'éducation. Tout en concédant que le Covid et la guerre en Ukraine ont contribué à faire flamber les prix de certains produits, nous ne pouvons occulter le fait que le gaspillage d'argent et l'accaparement des biens publics, l'abus de pouvoir, les passe-droits, le népotisme et le favoritisme sont les maîtres mots de ce gouvernement. Des projets de prestige ne rempliront pas les cathoras du peuple. Ces projets n'apaiseront pas la faim. Les dépenses exagérées et indécentes en termes de missions ministérielles à Dubaï Expo, le projet Métro Express, l'hippodrome à Côte d'Or, le scandale des ventilators et des médicaments, la liste est longue. L'exemple devrait venir d'en haut. Nos institutions n'inspirent plus confiance. Les Mauriciens crient leur indignation dans les rues, sur les ondes des radios privées, telles que Enquête en direct, Explique Ouka, Tempo Lasso, pour s'exprimer, pour exprimer leur misère, leur doléance, au lieu de se diriger vers les CAB. Des institutions telles que l'ICAC n'inspirent plus confiance. Combien de cas ont été référés à l'ICAC? Combien de ces cas ont été résolus? La MBC, mon camarade l'honorable Assia Vaden en a parlé. Le cas de la journaliste contrainte de partir parce qu'elle avait refusé de prendre la déclaration d'un élu de la majorité. La MBC censurant le message du cardinal Piat, car contenant des propos qui ne font pas plaisir aux potentats et mandarins. En l'occurrence, la notoire, la cuisine. La MBC qui ne passe pas un Sega du défunt chanteur Lynn pour les mêmes raisons. Et j'en passe. Où est passé le rapport du Fact-Finding Committee sur le décès des dialysés? Le rapport sur le rapport, Lam Changlin, sur la drogue. Combien de cas de brutalité policière n'ont pas été résolus à l'heure actuelle? Les institutions ne fonctionnent plus. Elles n'ont jamais fonctionné correctement et dans la transparence sous ce gouvernement. Ce gouvernement gouverne dans l'opacité. D'ailleurs, dans son Annual Audit Report 2019-2020, le directeur de l'audit fait clairement ressortir qu'il n'a pas accès aux documents. À la page 22, il écrit ceci. NAO officers either could not have access to records or such access was simply denied. For example, for the audit of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, important files could not be provided. Another example is the case of the police service that invoked a confidentiality clause in a contract to restrict access to records and information to NAO officers. Le directeur de l'audit mentionne également the key issues de ce rapport. Non-compliance with legislations, regulating reporting responsibilities, lapses in procurement management, deficiencies in contract management, non-compliance with legislations and non-enforcement of rules, value for money not obtained from significant expenditure incurred, deficiencies in asset management. Je préfère m'arrêter ici.
Merci.
Il n'y a pas, j'ai pas terminé, il n'y a pas que les institutions, pardon.
Time is over for you. I said merci. Time is over for you. Next orator would be Honorable François. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the opportunity to contribute to today's debate on this motion of no confidence in government. On the 21st November 2019, I took my oath of allegiance in this House after I was democratically elected to serve our Republic and the nation for this mandate 2019-2024. When I was thinking on the how and what to deliver in my speech today on this motion as a Rhododendron parliamentarian in government, it was a kind of challenging, principally for me not to depart from the values and principles of OPR party. As a binding principle for OPR, we do not interfere in the political partisanship at national level. Though OPR do share cordial relationship from both sides of the House, we don't have any qualms to supporting any central government following any OPR National Assembly election victory. The Honorable Prime Minister Dr. Badayachi regularly reiterated that we are in a period of exceptional times that requires exceptional measures that go beyond the usual constraints by exceptional decision-making in the name of crisis resolutions. Mr. Speaker, sir, as a matter of comparison, are we on the same social-economic footings as Sri Lanka today, was on the brink of bankruptcy? Suspended payments of foreign loans, severe shortage of essential goods, and so on. Are we in a critical situation to be bailed out by the International Monetary Fund? The Speaker, sir, Government Program 2019-2024 defines this government vision for this mandate. Today, when we realize that there is a shift in certain decisions taken as a matter of urgency to reprioritize some of the commitments in the present unexpected and even unprecedented circumstances. We are in a time of inclusive recovery. Our government spending must be carefully prioritized on safety nets to curtail social crisis, health, housing, and education by targeting the most vulnerable of our society. Mr. Speaker, sir, having said so, my intervention today with in mind the ideology to debating constructively on the motion of no confidence in government, not simply to provide a comfortable majority in support of the Prime Minister and government to defeat the motion. Rather, it's a great opportunity for me as an OPR government member to reiterate the vision, commitment, accomplishment, and the road ahead for a better future for our Republic as responsible and stable government. Mr. Speaker, sir, from crisis COVID-19 to ongoing climate change and now Russian invasion of Ukraine, government are responsibly asking and telling people to alter their behavior and make great sacrifices, yes, essential, of short-term satisfaction and immediate benefits if we have positive expectation on longer-term outcomes of public policies. Let me remind us all that in this difficult period of crisis, government, the nation, and all the population are surely enduring the burden of the consequences, and that should not open doors for a negative shift of a societal political intoxication to our detriment. Mr. Speaker, sir, I agree with government decision to stay focused on major structural transformations underway. Firstly, very important for green transition, for food security, production and nutrition as economics of life. Nous avons beaucoup la terre agricole et nous sommes capables de planter pour nourrir nos pays. Nous avons planté plus sous Michel Chicken. Mr. Speaker, sir, you will recall such great motive since 1976, still valid today. Par contre, le manger qui sorti de haut contre le manger qui sorti dans la terre. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, sir, l'argent prenant, mais manger pas prenant pasté. Secondly, innovation and digital revolution as a new development model, rightly advocated by Honorable Malgobin during the Assise de l'innovation 2022, this is a future model. I note in the Global Innovation Index 2021, tracking innovation for the COVID-19 crisis, Mauritius ranked first in Africa, 52 in the world among 130 countries. This is meaningful achievements despite all odds. Mr. Speaker, sir, an important foundation for this motion is trust in government. Since the pandemic began, there is a perception that trust in government has fallen, despite people recognize the need for government to help solving fundamental problems in crisis situations. People outside, Mr. Speaker, sir, are tired of political instability, and more than ever, the nation requires a reinforcement of social, political Mauritianism consciousness instead of factionalism and fragmentation of our society, which is a threat to our collective progress and prosperity. Our nation requires an awakening of its collective responsibility to meet people's expectations for stable governance and not the same unpatriotic political rhetoric which deepens societal division and divisiveness. Mr. Speaker, sir, government recently responded to rises in prices and high cost of living pressures, increase in petrol and groceries for households due to external factors. My question is government not doing enough despite all its limits? We are in a global situation of painful uncertainty, of painful misunderstandings, public frustration, violent protests, which in these cases create the temptation of political scapegoat instead of a structured system of national dialogue. Mr. Speaker, sir, to strengthen our social and economic fabrics, I feel the necessity for an open national dialogue for an indivisible nation by all political parties in this country, private sectors, civil societies, and especially our young generation. Kristalina Georgieva, director of IMF, recently stated in an article, crisis upon crisis, how the world can respond. Also referred by Honorable Padayachi, and I quote, she said, "The actions we take now together will determine our future in fundamental ways." It reminds me of Bretton Woods in 1944, when in the dark shadow of war, leaders came together to envision a brighter world. It was a moment of unprecedented courage and cooperation. We need that spirit today as we face bigger challenges and more difficult choices. End quote. Monsieur le Président, j'aime bien la pertinence de sa réflexion qui répond à notre situation actuelle, alors que nous débattons sur cette motion de blâme. Elle formule que sur le plan économique, la croissance est en baisse et l'inflation en hausse. Sur le plan humain, ce sont les revenus des populations qui sont en baisse et les difficultés qui sont en hausse. C'est clair que les personnes pauvres seront les plus touchées par ces bouleversements. Peut-on dire que le gouvernement reste sensible et fait la sourde oreille aux pauvres? Non, Monsieur le Président. 12 milliards de roupies pour le logement, 8 milliards en subsides, mais l'État n'est pas en mesure de satisfaire à toutes les attentes. Monsieur le Président, à titre de comparaison et d'exemple, ce qui me réconforte, au Maroc, plusieurs stratégies d'action collective ont été déployées face aux revendications pour freiner la hausse des prix et maintenir le fonds de compensation. Au Ghana, la société civile demande des appuis pour les agricultrices sous forme d'investissement dans le domaine des moyens de production pour encourager la création d'emplois, la croissance économique et le bien-être de la population. Aux Philippines, un programme de relance devrait donner la priorité à la sécurité alimentaire, à la création d'emplois grâce à la stimulation, au soutien des entreprises locales, afin d'en faire profiter les travailleurs et à l'investissement dans des projets axés sur des infrastructures vertes et l'allègement de la pauvreté. Monsieur le Président, le gouvernement central mauricien, pour sa part, a adopté des mesures que certains considèrent insuffisantes pour soulager la population. Non pas tant qu'elles sont intrinsèquement souhaitables, mais parce qu'elles permettent d'écarter une menace d'une perpétuelle instabilité dans le pays. Dans ce contexte de crise, nous sommes en face d'une politique de liaisance et de patience qui repose sur le principe de vérité, de nécessité, de rapidité et de solidarité par une gouvernance cohérente et d'harmonisation. Certes, Monsieur le Président, l'opposition a le devoir de contester l'orientation de certaines politiques gouvernementales, mais être jugé principalement sur des questions que de compétences ou mauvaise gouvernance, plutôt que sur les fins auxquelles l'orientation politique gouvernementale est destinée, relève d'une grande faiblesse démocratique pour notre République. Monsieur le Président, je l'ai déjà dit, le Premier ministre a une vision globale et à long terme des actions qui mènent son gouvernement. Il en va de même pour chacun des ministres, des PPS et députés de ce côté de la Chambre, chacun dans son domaine de compétences. Monsieur le Président. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, let me say a few words, specifically on road rigs, and also to put on record that the OPR party is one of the top 5 parties of our Republic. It is one of the rare parties who constantly scores on its own for the National Assembly elections, more than 50% of votes, and in the last election, having obtained a very unfortunate 46% of votes alone against 2 alliances of 6 parties, including a national party, with a high risk of instability and disintegration at any moment from now. OPR has never been in alliance with any party, be it at local or national level. So, Speaker, sir, OPR always work with any government of the day in the best interest of our rigs and for the prosperity and progress of our Republic. My leader, Serge Claire, said that the Republic of Mauritius must have a different vision for our rigs after the advent of autonomy in 2001. The Honorable Prime Minister and central government have understood this very well through an excellent, respectful working relationship and understanding as we witness with the outgoing OPR regional government in the true spirit of our autonomy. The House will note central government unflinching support for the transformational development of our rigs today in 2022, amounting to 4.79 billion rupees as compared to 1.7 billion rupees in 2013 and 2.7 billion rupees in 2015. Allow me to quote a few paragraphs of Government Program 2019-2024, which have been reinforced in various budget speeches as well. Paragraph 182, Government stated, the sustainable development for road rigs with due regard to a fragile ecosystem will remain at the heart of government's agenda. Paragraph 184, a new runway 2.1 kilometer long by 45 meter wide at Penkorai Airport, requiring 4 billion rupees investment, will be built. Works are expected to start this year. Paragraph 186, to increase water supply in roadways, government will support the application of new technologies for desalination and storage. I note, government meaningful financial commitment of 1 billion rupees through the Mauritius Investment Corporation for water distribution problem solution to increasing water production capacity. Mr. Speaker, sir, over essential central government measures towards road rigs, subsidy on cost of airfare, holiday packages to sustain tourism industry, financial support under the COVID-19 Financial Support Initiative for tourism alternative livelihood, electricity cost subsidy for tourism industry, sales of local meat, handicraft and agro-processed products, and support to local artists. Financial support from COVID-19 projects funds and national environment funds. I won't go into the financial quantum for implementation of various development projects in roads. Mr. Speaker, sir, government also is fully supportive to the new social housing scheme and famine bon la case for vulnerable families in roads. Further, as part of the territorial continuity vision within our Republic and IT sector development, central government provided road rigs with high-speed bandwidth through the installation of a Mauritius and road rig submarine cable system, and also the ongoing construction of Technopark with the first smart building to developing businesses and employment for our youths in road rigs. Fiber to home service is a reality. Government commits also through the road rig subsidy fund approximately 160 million rupees in 2021 to subsidize petroleum products, namely mogas, gas oil, dual-purpose kerosene, liquefied petroleum gas, and also ration rice, flour, and cement to keep these products in road rigs at par with their respective retail prices prevailing in Mauritius. Monsieur le Président, le budget 2022-2023 sera bientôt présenté au Parlement. Comme j'ai déjà mentionné, le gouvernement central venait de prendre une série de mesures en réponse à la hausse des prix ici à Maurice. Dans le même élan, je voudrais, au nom de l'OPR, mon collègue l'honorable Léopold, et en mon nom personnel, faire une requête pressante au ministère des Finances d'envisager d'ajuster le fret entre Maurice et Rodrigue, qui est actuellement à 20%, à un meilleur taux pour soulager la population de Rodrigue face à l'augmentation du coût de la vie à Rodrigue. Il s'agit d'un appel très urgent. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me also thank the Honourable Prime Minister, Honourable Pravin Jagnnath and government to allow me, as Parliamentary Private Secretary for Rodrigues, with regards to implementation of costly major drains projects construction to remedy the flooding problems in many flood-prone areas through the National Development Unit. The population of Rodrigues is extremely grateful for the consideration given in this process of saving lives and facilitating them. Bon travail peut continuer. Mr. Speaker, sir, one last point before concluding. For almost 2 years, Rodrigues was COVID-free, protected from COVID-19, Delta variant, upon decision of governments, both local and central, to close our border and to provide necessary funds to pay our Mauritius and hotels as quarantine centers. During strict control repatriation, the population of Rodrigues highly values these decisions for the strict sanitary control to keep Rodrigues COVID-free, even up to after the dissolution of the Regional Assembly, which allowed regional elections to be held in Rodrigues. I also note government technical, medical, through vaccines, and financial help to Rodrigues during the foot and mouth disease pandemic for its control and eradication in the interest of our farmers' community. Mr. Speaker, sir, despite the crisis situation, I sincerely welcome government commitments for the transformational development of Rodrigues. To conclude, and in response to our citizen expectation, let me put the following questions. Is our government reliable to minimize uncertainty in the economic, social, and political environment, and is acting in a consistent and predictable manner? Yes, we are. Is our government responsive in the provision of accessible, efficient, and citizen-oriented public services that effectively address the needs and expectations of the public? Yes, we are. Is our government open and inclusive in a systematic, comprehensive approach to improve transparency, accountability, and engagement? Yes, we are. Is our government fair in the treatment of citizens and businesses in the policy making and policy implementation processes? Yes, we are. And I leave it here to the appreciation of one and all. Monsieur le Président, in this difficult time of global crisis, and in the spirit of national solidarity to our population, as a member of Parliament, I am ready to modestly contribute again a monthly 10% of my salary to the National Solidarity Fund. I think this is my call for all us all in this House, both sides of the House. Monsieur le Président, je termine en faisant un appel solennel à toute la nation. L'heure n'est pas d'encourager la division de notre société, mais sa transformation dans la solidarité. L'heure n'est pas des grands discours politiques, mais un dialogue national constant vers une société républicaine cohésive. L'avenir de la République ne repose pas dans l'instabilité nationale ou l'instabilité politique, mais dans un nouvel engagement patriotique, profond et citoyen de tout un chacun. Nous devons choisir de faire face ensemble comme une République unie, face aux plus grandes crises sanitaires, économiques et planétaires actuelles. Monsieur le Président, je termine. Au nom de l'OPR et les 56% de votants qui ont voté pour nous à Rodrigue pour ce mandat 29 et 24, mon collègue de l'honorable Léopold et moi-même, en tant que PPS pour Rodrigue, face à cette motion de blâme, nous avons le devoir et la conscience collective de soutenir pleinement l'honorable Premier ministre et le gouvernement central dans l'intérêt de la République et de Rodrigue. Monsieur le Président, sur ce, vive la République de Maurice. Je vous remercie pour votre attention.
Bin, 15 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, a motion of no confidence is an important exercise in the functioning of this temple of democracy and should be tackled with all its seriousness,
So, as time is of the essence, I will not rebut baseless allegations, character assassinations from certain honorable members from the other side of the House. Because debates on a motion of no confidence in the government is a serious matter that should be tackled with all its seriousness. And I would invite most of the honorable members of this House to ponder as to the first motion of no confidence that was debated in this House. It was on the 12th of July 1979. For the first time ever in post-independence Mauritius, a motion of no confidence was presented before this August Assembly by the then leader of the opposition, Anirudh Jagnnath, as he then was. And from there on, we have had another 5 motions of no confidence, and this 7th motion has all its importance as we face almost the same situation that we were facing in 1979, Mr. Speaker, sir. Growing poverty, high cost of living, depreciation of our rupee, eroding purchasing power. 2 ministers have resigned. 1 former deputy prime minister was revoked. And the motion in 1979 did not go through as the other motion. But, Mr. Speaker, sir, but the aftermath of this motion, the then government faced the fury of the people and lost all seats in 1982, the first famous 60-0, Mr. Speaker, sir. The writings on the walls now as well, and the best test is election. As true Democrats, I urge government to bring on the municipal elections, for instance. Bring on the municipal elections. This is the best poll. This is the true survey. Instead of 600 people opining, you will have more than half of the population giving their own opinion. This is the true survey, and our people shall have the chance to give a motion of confidence or a motion of no confidence to this government. This is democracy, and municipal elections are due. Mr. Speaker, sir, when we turn on the radio or scroll down your phone, and the big headlines belong to COVID, but when this latest version of the plague drops off the front pages, another story is set to take its place. And this one will hang around for most of the year and the coming year, which will most possibly be deciding the government's future, Mr. Speaker, sir. The cost of living crisis that our people are facing is about to shape our politics in a way that it hasn't for decades. Whether certain members like it or not, this will happen. This will change the politics of this country. That is why this motion of no confidence has all its importance. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition has provided in great details facts and figures, Mr. Speaker, sir, as to how our people are suffering and why this government is being insensible and no immediate actions are being taken to alleviate same. Mr. Speaker, sir, various examples have been provided by various speakers from this side of the House. I would take a few. In Spain, for example, Mr. Speaker, sir, VAT on household energy bills has been lowered from 21% to 10% until June, while taxes on electricity have been cut from 7% to 0.5%, Mr. Speaker, sir. France has, from the 1st of April, and that for 4 months, provided a fuel discount. Germany, Mr. Speaker, sir, passed a raft of measures to help households cope with the cost of living crisis, including a cut to tax on fuel for 3 months by 30 cents for petrol and 14 cents for diesel. And all taxpayers in Germany, Mr. Speaker, sir, will receive a one-off €300 payment to help with the rising cost of living, with a further €100 for each child and an additional €100 for anybody receiving state benefit. And this is the trend in all major democracies, Mr. Speaker, sir, like Sweden, Belgium, Netherlands, New Zealand, the UK, Ireland, for instance. This is what we from this
side of the House have been advocating right from the beginning through PQs. Bring immediate measures. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is worth here quoting Abraham Lincoln when he said, "Leave nothing for tomorrow, which can be done today." And today, Mr. Speaker, sir, we have to reduce tax on petrol and diesel. Today, we can do it. Give an extra allowance to our pensioners. Today, we can do it. Increase the national minimum wage. Today. This can be done, Mr. Speaker, sir. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition has explained with facts and figures. And with regard to democracy and the rule of law, Mr. Speaker, sir, restraining public debates and ignoring the public outcry with regard to the repressive approach being adopted with the use of laws like recently amended the Police Act, the Public Health Act, the Quarantine Act, amongst others, are not acceptable by our people anymore. Mr. Speaker, sir, democracy can no longer continue to take the back seat. In the same vein, with the abuse being made of the provisional charges policy by the police, yet this government is keeping silent and condoning this practice. Since 2018, Mr. Speaker, sir, this government has announced that it will be bringing to this House the Police and Criminal Justice Bill. And that bill shall contain, amongst others, a code of conduct for the police. This is a bill that should be brought to this House with a certificate of urgency. And yet, Mr. Speaker, sir, yet the population continues to succumb and suffer to politics of fear and repression. Breaches to the rights to privacy by snooping on political opponents and their families. The Leader of the Opposition vividly portrayed the directives being given to our police constables to take at least 5 contraventions per day for those not wearing protective masks in public. As if, Mr. Speaker, sir, contraventions have become a new pillar of our economy. Mr. Speaker, sir, in these unprecedented times, it is not just economic policy, health policy, and social policy that require creativity and innovation. Our democratic structures need to be equally responsive, Mr. Speaker, sir. The spirit of our Constitution should also be upheld. The 3 pillars of our Constitution, the legislature, Parliament, the executive, the judiciary, should be able to live up when faced with adversity. We need major constitutional reforms, Mr. Speaker, sir. We need to bring systemic changes, as rightly pointed out by Honourable Béranger. And this can only happen by going back to the people. Listen to the voices of our people. La voix du peuple, c'est la voix de Dieu. Mr. Speaker, sir, now is the time to bring meaningful change to the system. And this motion is a stepping stone for this government to redress their acts and doings. Be less arrogant and overconfident and engage in public consultation. Listen to the cry of our people and do not jubilate on mere surveys and opinion poll, because 1 week is a long time in politics, my friend. So let us seize this opportunity to make those constitutional changes that we badly need. Bring same to the House for debates. This is what we should do in this August Assembly. We need a government for the many, Mr. Speaker, sir, not for the few as it is now. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move for the adjournment of the debate.
Is the motion seconded? The question is the debate now adjourned. Those in favour say aye, those against say no. The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I move for the adjournment of the House for Friday, 13th May at 3 p.m.
The question is that the House be adjourned to Friday, 13th May at 2 p.m. Those in favour say aye, those against say no. Adjournment matter? No adjournment matter. So the House stands adjourned.